They said many things about her, whispers that slithered through the metallic corridors of the starship Helios Vanguard. Some called her a weapon, others a myth stitched from fear. But the warning was always the same: don't go near her. Elizabeth had heard the caution since the day she was brought aboard shackled. Silent, with glowing amber eyes that reflected the ship's lights like molten gold. She was human, mostly, but her DNA fused with something ancient and draconic. Something the alien sovereigns feared. The crew avoided her. They kept a 5-meter perimeter whenever she passed. Even the Marines, armored like walking tanks, looked away. But Evan watched, not with fear. With curiosity, a junior xenobiologist with tired eyes and a perpetually ink-smudged uniform, he wasn't brave. He simply had the kind of mind that needed to understand everything, especially the things he was told to avoid. For 3 weeks he observed her from afar, in the mess hall, in the observation deck, during security drills. She spoke to no one. She didn't eat. She only watched the stars with an expression that made Evan wonder if she could see something the rest of them couldn't. And then everything changed on a quiet cycle in the mess hall. The room fell silent as Elizabeth entered. Plates clattered, chairs scraped. People scurried away like shadows retreating from light. She stood alone, scanning the room. Evan tried not to stare, but he did. Because her eyes lingered on him. Because for the first time she seemed to hesitate. And then she walked toward him. Boots silent, gaze burning. Shoulders straight like a queen returning to a domain no one understood. Gasps erupted around the room. Someone whispered, "Is he insane? Why isn't he running?" But Evan didn't move. Elizabeth reached his table, her shadow falling across him, warm and strangely heavy. She didn't ask permission. She simply sat slowly, deliberately. With him, across dozens of tables, jaws dropped. Evan swallowed. Hi?" She stared at him for 3 long seconds. "Then you do not fear me." It wasn't a question. He shook his head. "Should I?" Her lips curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. "That depends on what you believe I am. What are you?" Her eyes flickered brighter, molten gold swirling like solar storms. "A warning. And a promise." Later that cycle, the Helios Vanguard dropped out of warp near the frontier world. Asterion 6, they expected to rendezvous with a mining fleet. Instead, they found the ruin of 1.Asterion-6 burned cities flattened. Orbital stations cracked open like eggshells, and debris drifting like ash around a dying hearth. The Sovereigns had arrived. Enemy ships, sleek, angular, predatory, appeared on sensors moments later. An ambush, red alarm screamed through the halls. The crew scrambled to battle stations. Evan stayed in the science wing, heart pounding. He had never been in a real battle, but Elizabeth? She stood calm, her hands clasped behind her back like she had been waiting for this. The ship shuddered violently as plasma fire ripped across the shields. The captain's voice boomed through comms. "We're outnumbered 3-1. Divert all power to weapons." Then another voice burst through the speakers. The chief security officer. "Contain the dragon woman. Do not let her near the hangar bay." Elizabeth turned to Evan. "They fear I will destroy them too," she said softly. "But they do not understand your kind is worth protecting." "My kind?" He repeated. "Humans." Her eyes glowed brighter. "You do not bow to sovereigns. You defy them. It is admirable." A blast rocked the hull. Systems flickered. Elizabeth exhaled once slowly and metal restraints snapped from around her wrists, falling like broken chains. Evan stumbled back. "Wait, those restraints, they said they limit nothing," she replied. "They only reassure those who hope I will remain obedient." She walked past him, heat shimmering faintly in the air. For the first time, he realized why they called her the Dragon Woman, not because she was dangerous, because she was powerful. The hangar bay trembled as the massive doors opened to vacuum. Sovereign boarding craft latched onto the hull like metallic leeches. Marines fought desperately to hold the line, and then Elizabeth arrived. Her presence silenced the chaos. A sovereign warrior lunged toward her, towering. Armored, claws drawn, she raised her hand. A pulse of superheated energy exploded outward, vaporizing the warrior in a burst of golden flame. Marines froze mid-battle. Even Evan, who had followed her despite the terror clawing at his spine, stared in stunned disbelief. Elizabeth wasn't merely enhanced. She was a living weapon forged from humanity's oldest myths and their newest science. But she wasn't here to conquer, she was here to protect. Sovereign after Sovereign fell under her blazing arc. Her movements were fluid, precise, almost ritualistic. Fire danced along her skin, coiling like serpents of light. But then a sovereign commander stormed through the breach, a colossus clad in obsidian armor. Wielding a quantum pike that hummed with violet energy, he pointed the weapon at Elizabeth. "Hybrid abomination," he snarled. "The sovereigns created you. You were to kneel before your makers." Elizabeth stepped forward, unafraid. "I kneel to no one." They clashed, fire against void, light against darkness. Each strike shook the hangar, metal groaning like a wounded beast. Evan watched helplessly as the commander landed a brutal hit. Driving Elizabeth to one knee, she looked up, eyes blazing. But breath ragged. Evan moved without thinking. He grabbed a fallen plasma rifle, sprinted across the deck, and fired at the commander's exposed flank. The shot bounced harmlessly off alien armor. But it was enough. The commander turned. Elizabeth didn't waste the opening. Flames erupted from her body, an inferno shaped like massive spectral wings. She launched upward with impossible speed, crashing into the commander with all the fury of a star being born. The sovereign disintegrated. In a burst of radiant fire, silence followed, a heavy, disbelieving silence. Elizabeth descended slowly, wings fading into glowing embers. Evan stood there, shaking, still holding the rifle like it weighed 1,000 pounds. She approached him. "You intervened," she said quietly. "You looked like you needed help," he replied. A genuine smile, rare, beautiful, and filled with something impossibly human, touched her lips. "Evan," she said, "you are either very brave or very foolish, probably both." She let out a soft laugh. It was the first laugh he'd ever heard from her. Then her expression shifted, serious. "Determined? The sovereigns will return, stronger, but today—" She looked toward the stars as burning debris drifted past the bay's open shield. "Today humanity proves something, that we can fight back?" Evan asked. "That you," she said, placing a hand gently on his shoulder, "are worth fighting for." The crew of the Helios Vanguard watched from a distance, still wary, still afraid, but no longer certain of their assumptions. They had said, "Don't go near her." But the dragon woman had chosen her ally. And in doing so, she changed the fate of everyone aboard, and perhaps the fate of humanity itself.